Thank you for joining me for this episode of God Talk, and it is July the 4th, and so I'm going to talk a little God, politics, and country in this episode of God Talk. So it's going to be a little bit more political than normal. Probably we'll be having a few more of these because we're getting closer and closer to everyone's favorite time, that is the November elections, every 4 years, presidential elections, and things always get weird. And that's the best way to say it. Things always get weird. And really, the impetus probably for this podcast is twofold. One, today's the 4th of July. And then secondly, it has to be the debate this past week. And I'm going to disclaim this before I get any further into the podcast that I, I didn't watch the debate. I didn't plan that the debate would change what I'm going to do when it's time to vote. I didn't need to see what I knew Trump would do, and I didn't need to see what Biden would do. But for those of you who watched it, and I don't think there was a lot, maybe 40 million in the whole country, so maybe just a little over 10%, 12% of the country watched it, but it did make quite a splash. And we got to understand how we've gotten to this point, and that these are our choices. Not only the Biden Trump thing, but RFK made some news here a couple of days ago, and I want to talk about him as well, because these are the top three people running for president in our country. And I don't know that you even really need to count RFK, but we will, just because he's in the news regularly. But let's just start with the Trump Biden debate. So I've seen the clips, and like, to be honest, I did watch 15 seconds of the debate. I was flipping through the channels and it was on, and I did like pause there for 15 seconds, and I saw Trump doing what Trump does best, and that is, he's got this angry, consternated look on his face, and just exudes arrogance and a million other things. And Biden was sitting there like, I wasn't even sure if he was alive. His mouth was open. I don't know that any drool was like coming out of like his mouth, but I've seen dead people, and I'm not even trying to be disrespectful, because for those of you who know me, I just don't really talk disrespectful about people unless I'm like really mad at him. But like he just, like, it was a horrible, horrible look on his face. And so I didn't watch any of the debate, but I was like, oh my gosh, like, that is not a flattering camera angle. I've got better things to do with my life than sit there and just watch a train wreck for a train wreck. I know what the issues are. I know which candidate supports my issues. I'm a double hater. I mean, I think most of you know that about me. There's some double haters out there. And that is, I really kind of don't like Trump. Parts of Trump I don't. And many parts of Biden I don't like. So I would be in the category of like, could we not have another person? The person that I was strongly in favor of in the Republican primary didn't materialize the way that I had hoped he would, but I would have been solidly behind him. He has the same policies, in my opinion, as Trump, but without all the baggage that Trump carries, just in terms of his personality style and the things that he's done. But I have to tell you, we have three choices, and I've gone from like, hey, there's no way I'm voting for Trump again, to I think he's the best of the three choices, even including like a lot of his personality failings. And that kills me to say it. So, with Biden, if we're going to be honest, I mean, he's got a health issue. Maybe dementia. I don't know that I believe it's completely dementia, but it might be. I think there's a stronger chance it's Parkinson's, because that can cause you to be very much more slow in processing your thoughts and so forth. And it was a disaster. And after the debate, you saw his wife. Good job, Joe. You were able to answer all the questions, and like at Waffle House, he's got his hands folded in front of him like a little, like he had the sheepish grin, like a 4-year-old being praised by his mom. If anyone if anyone talked to me that way, good job, Greg. You finished the sermon. Good job, Greg. You mowed the lawn. Good job, Greg. You held your own against that person. I want to slap him sideways, as my mom would always say, because like, who wants to be that? Just talking to someone that way seems to indicate that the person isn't normally able to do it. Otherwise, you don't have to make a big deal about something that they are always able to do. I'm able to tie my shoelaces pretty much every time I stoop over to do it. Now, it might be getting a little harder to stoop over, but I can still do it, by golly. And so until I'm like failing at tying my shoelaces like 50% of the time, please just don't compliment me on tying my shoelaces. Because if you compliment me on it, that means that like normally I don't, or normally I can't. So there he is at the Waffle House. I mean, as cute as can be in a sense, like this cute old man, hands folded, this innocent grin on his face, is his wife's praising. I mean, I would have had fire coming from my eyes, like, be quiet, woman. Like, what are you trying to do to me? And why are we at the Waffle House? I guess that's his favorite place. And so I of course I don't agree with anything with Biden on policy. If you're not gay or transgender or cross dressing or something, you're not even worthy to be in his administration. There's just really nothing like. There's no way I could even consider. Not that I would, anyways. But like, and like, then there's a whole like his kid situation with Hunter Biden. That's a whole nother topic. But we can't control our kids, so whatever. I'm not going to pin that one on him as much as what other people would. I know that sends some of you your skin crawling, but there's that whole diary thing with his daughter, and that's disturbing too. With how often she said like how old she was when he'd still take showers with her, and it's just very, very uncomfortable to even talk about it. And so I'm just saying he's not without blame when it comes to certain things as well. He ended up marrying the former babysitter of his house. So listen, people ride Trump all the time, and rightfully so. He's done some stupid things. But what I'm trying to say is like policy wise, Biden's horrific. He's not mentally competent and capable of being the president. He won't be alive in another 4 years. He just won't. He won't. So he's a horrific candidate that way as well. And he's not without some sketchy things that he's done. And listen, I'll give you like probably everyone's done sketchy things. Some definitely far more sketchy than others, and some way more sketchier than others, or way more often. But he's not without like blame on that. Then you have RFK, and if you didn't read the article, you need to pull it up. RFK, they pulled up some stuff on him. I think it was Vogue magazine, I think, was the one that Joe Biden was interviewed in. There's one of these magazines that pulled up some dirt on him. Some of it he refuted, but one that he did not was that he was accused of and charged for sexually molesting his babysitter. She was 20, not his kid's babysitter. She was 23 years old, and apparently he groped her at his house. And he doesn't deny it. His response is this: it's almost very much like Trump. He just owns it. Well, Trump lies about a lot of things, but sometimes he just owns it too, right? But he takes it to even a higher level than what Trump does. RFK said, "I have so many skeletons in my closet. If they could all vote for me, I'd be king of the world." I'm paraphrasing it, but that's pretty much what he said. And so where Trump like will just own a lot of the criticism, he either denies it, lies about it, but he owns a fair amount of it. Like, this is to the next level. So even if I'm trying to look for someone like that I could get behind other than Trump, my options are Biden, and we've already discussed him, and an RFK who says he has so many skeletons in his closet. If they could vote, he'd be king of the world. These are our choices. Now, when it comes to Trump, other than like the his view on Russia, he's a little more pro-Russian than what I'm personally in favor of. Other than that, I mean, as a conservative Christian, pretty thankful for his views and for how he fights for our values and our cause. So that I've said that I would never vote for him again, but barring something significantly changing, I will be voting for him again. But rather than being a double hater, I guess I'm a triple hater. I mean, why don't we have another option? I was a DeSantis fan. Why couldn't it have been him? There was other people that ran that were probably every bit as conservative as Trump, or if people didn't like DeSantis and his mild, like, I don't know, he doesn't have autism, but Asperger's or whatever he has, where maybe people don't like that aspect of his personality. Like, there were others, but why is it like a 78-year-old Trump that he may not live to the end of his next, if he gets elected, his next presidency? But as a conservative Republican, I'm comfortable that even if he doesn't, then someone good will be taking his place. That does not sit the same way with me. I mean, I don't want Biden in there in the first place, and if he dies, it probably gets worse. RFK, we probably don't have to worry about dying, other than he's a Kennedy, and they historically always seem to get assassinated. But why don't we have other options? And I can only say, like, it's got to be like it's the institutions, and it's the true power. Like, we think power rests with the people, and either we're stupid as people, or the powers behind can really manipulate, brainwash, and cause us to to nominate three people that really, there's got to be better people out there. And people say about Trump, but he's just got the courage, and he does. But is there no one else that has that courage, that that holds those values? I bet you there's tens of thousands of people that hold those values, that have that kind of courage. But you've got to have a name, and you've got to have a network, and you've got to be in with the big donors, and I mean, there's just so many different aspects to it. And I just sit here thinking, is the world like laughing at us? And I don't know. I hope that Trump will be elected. And if he is elected, I hope that he will serve the country well. In many respects, he did his first 4 years. And my biggest thing with him is, when he screws up, just listen, acknowledge you screw up, own it. And here's the deal: like, there's 30 some percent of Republicans that Trump even joked, think, during his first, before his first term, his first campaign, that he could kill someone and still get elected. And listen, he could kill someone tomorrow, and 30 some percent of Republicans, and I, certainly know several of you, you'd still vote for him. And Biden, like, he can be weekend at Bernie's, like, full out dead. And like, this debate did not change much. I mean, it changed a few percentage points, which is significant. If Trump was up by 1 or 2, now he's up by 4 or 5. I mean, that's significant. But like, you would think, like, I mean, you'd think it'd be 90-10 in favor of Trump, but it's not. I mean, you remember Fetterman in Pennsylvania? Like he couldn't even put sentences together, and he still got elected. Even though he flopped big in the debate. So Republicans are going to vote for Republicans. It doesn't matter if they're a crook. It doesn't matter if they're incompetent. It doesn't matter what they are. They'll vote for them. Democrats will do the same. So let's just be honest about it. So who are we going to blame? In the end, it's only ourselves to blame. And I just don't know that as a country that's what we should be about. I don't know that we're being an example to the world. I don't know that we're being an example to our kids, that these are the most qualified candidates that we have to choose from. And I know some of you are hating me for what I say, but I hope the rest of you can at least kind of understand where I'm coming from. It's like, don't we owe it to ourselves? Don't we owe it to our kids? Don't we owe it to the people who've died for our country? Don't we owe it to the world that we lead? That, I mean, we can get people that are under the age of 80, and people that don't have to brag about having so many skeletons in their closet. If they could vote, he'd be king of the world. I mean, don't we owe it to ourselves to have better options than that? So the real question is God the one that's behind all of this? And I think that God is sovereign. God is in control of a lot more than what we realize. So as we sit here and we wonder, why as a nation are we in the situation that we are in? And listen, there's probably a good number of you that, like, may not think it's a bad situation, but I'm just saying in general, as a country, like, what's happened, right? I think there is an element of God being behind a lot of the stuff that's going on in our country and the world today. There's a passage I like a lot from scripture. I talk about it on occasion, and I like it a lot because it's one of those passages where you can't put God in a box. And the passage is 1 Kings 22, verse 22. And basically, God is wanting someone to entice King Ahab, who was a very evil, a very wicked king, to go into battle so that he would ultimately be killed in battle. And so, God could have struck him by lightning. God could have just made him die in his sleep. God didn't. He chooses to do it as an enticing spirit. And so a spirit comes forth and says, you know what, I'll go forth and be a deceiving spirit, cause Ahab to want to go into battle. And he does, and Ahab dies. And so I like that passage because, like, once again, it's God outside of the box, and it's God just using the evil and the wickedness that Israel already was with their evil and wicked king, and causing them to increase that wickedness, and for the king to do something that was even more wicked, something that he wasn't supposed to do. And as a result of it, he did do it because God enticed him to do it so that ultimately he would die, which kind of leads me to another passage in scripture that we talk about from time to time. And that's Romans 1:27. It says, God gave them over to their sinful desires of their hearts. And so, like, there's an element of, we pray in the Lord's Prayer, lead us not into temptation. Well, God was leading Ahab, into temptation so that he would die because of their wickedness. He's just, all right, if you're going to be wicked, you know what? You made your bed, you're going to lie in it. This is going to be your course. And I'm going to open that path to you. And that's a lot what Romans 1:27 talks about, that when God hands people over to their sinful desires, like he'll work at us to try to change our hearts. But if our hearts aren't going to change, then fine. He will allow stupidness to make sense. And I think that's where we're at today in this country, in this world, is stupidness makes sense. Stupidness says, hey, even if my candidate, is basically almost dead or dying and mentally incompetent, then what? That's still who I'm voting for. If my candidate, even if he did kill someone, I'd vote for him. Like that just doesn't make any sense. I mean, could we possibly be that stupid? Well, I think we are that stupid, and I think God is handing us over to our sinful desires. It's an interesting passage. Felipe, one of my staff members, was mentioning to me earlier, and it's I think pretty relevant. So I'm going to close with it from Revelation 22:10-11. He shared this with me a little bit earlier this morning, and it's the angel talking to John in the book of Revelation as all these visions are being revealed to him. It says, "Because the time is near, let the one who does wrong continue to do wrong. Let the person that is vile continue to be vile. Let the person who's right continue to be right, and let the person who's holy continue to be holy." And I think that's the time that we're in right now. Is, what? There's people that are doing wrong out there, and God's handing them over to that wrongness. He's not even trying to change them anymore. There's people that are vile out there, and he's not even trying to change them. But for those of us who operate by a power other than the powers of this world, and follow not the things of this world, but the things of God, then for those who are right and for those who are holy, let them continue to be right and holy. So as we live in this world, in this country that it seems to me like it's gone crazy, and I can't even begin to understand how we've gotten to where we are, then as much as we can, let's not engage in the craziness. Let's not engage in the insanity and the stupidness. But for those of us who are right, continue to do right. And for those of us who seek to be holy, let us continue to seek to be holy. Thank you for joining me for this episode of God Talk, and I hope you have a wonderful 4th of July, and I look forward to talking to you next week. God bless, and have a great day.